Uh, yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening to all. So, thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. So, on behalf of Ramco Institute of Technology, I would like to welcome you all for this 2 days online training program on case studies in deep learning hands-on session using Google Colab. So, now I read out the schedule for this training program. In day one, we have 2 sessions. The first session will be handled by Mr. S. Vale Ganesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering in Ramco Institute of Technology. So about the topic, basic terminologies in deep learning and procedure. The second session in day one will be handled by Mr. K. Amudan, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Ramco Institute of Technology. So discuss about the topic, case studies by using the Google Colab. The day 2 session will be handled by Mr. R. Daivanayagam, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Ramco Institute of Technology. He is going to discuss about the case studies by using the Google Colab in deep learning. So some general instruction we have to give to the participants. The instructions are, you are requested to join at least 15 minutes before the scheduled time. First 250 participants are only able to join. Join the session by using laptop or desktop if possible, so that you can do the coding parallelly in Google Colab. Participants who attend 2 day session will be eligible for receiving a certificate. For further communication, you are requested to join any one of the WhatsApp group link which we are already sent to your mail ID. So another important instruction to the participants. So you are selected for this webinar to learn modern concepts like deep learning, artificial intelligence, and some real-time solution of programs. If resource persons take few minutes extension, kindly be patient. One humble request is don't ask feedback link in between the lecture process. If you are not interested to continue or you have some other works or network issues, means simply leave the meeting. We are not the responsible for your other duties as well as network issues. Our committee members are not responding questions related to feedback while the session is going on. If someone distracting again and again means the person will be removed from the meeting without their consent. So be patient, note some questions if you have any doubt, and enjoy the learning. Okay. Now I introduce our resource person for this first session, Mr. S. Vale Ganesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Ramco Institute of Technology. So he is having more than 7 years teaching experience. He published many journals in various streams. He also acted as a jury member for India Skill Competition held at Bangalore, conducted by MHRD, India. And also he published, and also he taken 1 month training in the field of artificial intelligence in the Bennett University, Noida. He filed 1 patent and also he filed 1 copyright. And also he published 1 book chapter in Amazon. He is in charge of Mechatronics Laboratory and E-Yantra Robotics Laboratory for our college, Ramco Institute of Technology. I welcome you, sir, for this session. Vale Ganesh, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now hand over the session to you, sir.
So good evening, one and all present here. I hope my voice and my screen is visible and audible for you, right? So first and foremost session is Selva Sundar Shah told regarding key and basic terms for beginners. Since we are all from heterogeneous group, that is, people are from computer science background, people are from non-circuit branches, then people are from business administration, people are from engineering, general sciences are registered for this program. It's my duty to explain about some basic key and terminologies used in deep learning. So these terminologies you are going to hear for the next 2 sessions with the help of Google Colab also. Okay. this is the agenda of my presentation. And first is introduction to deep learning, and second thing is definition of some common terminologies. Third thing is we are going to see about image classification and their types. Fourth one is object detection, how to detect the object from a picture. And fifth one is how to create the customized model. So this is the presentation which I focusing on first 20 minutes. Yeah, this is called as simple definition of deep learning. It's learning from examples. Okay, deep learning means learning from examples. So at a basic level, deep learning is a machine learning technique, or it's a subset of machine learning. It teaches computer to filter input through layers to learn how to predict and classify information. Prediction and classifications are the major output of deep learning. We can able to predict something. It may be a stock market prediction. It may be some house price prediction, and weather prediction, weather data prediction, and classifications. There are variety of classifications problems are also there. Then observations could be done with the help of data set that may be in the form of images, or in the form of text files, or in the form of some sound files. Okay, with the help of those images, text, or sound, we are going to predict or classifying it. Okay, this is the simple proper definition of deep learning. It's just learning from the examples. We are going to provide some examples, and from that example the system will learn and work accordingly. So these are all the couple of terminologies used in deep learning. One is data set, second one is model, third one is category, fourth one is object. So these four terminologies you are going to frequently hear for the next 2 sessions. That is the next session which is going to handle by Mr. Amudan sir, and tomorrow's session which is going to handle by Devanayagan sir. Okay. First and foremost thing is data set. Okay. So it's a main part. This is the input to deep learning. Without the data set, we can't able to do anything. Okay. So data set is nothing but it's a collection of images, text file, collection of text or sound. An example for a simple data set would be images of cars. Suppose if you work for prediction of car model along with the car type, you are going to have a data set of collection of variety of pictures of cars. With this data set, you are going to you are able to predict which type of model it is and what kind of manufacturer. You can able to predict with the help of those things. Okay, this is called as data set. Data set is nothing but collection of images, text, or video file. Okay, and next one is model. So model is the second key terminology for you. A model is a set of tuned algorithms that produces a predicted output. Okay, models are trained based on the input that is provided by the data set to classification problem or categorical problem, to classify images or video frames or find objects in images or video frames. So model is the main key element in deep learning process. So without model, we can't able to do anything. And similarly, if we are not able to design or customize optimum model, means the result is going to be affected. Okay, if you are able to design a model, means that model is going to predict or respond very accurately. Okay, so this is the most important thing as far as deep learning concepts are concerned. Okay, and third thing is category. A category is used to classify an image. The image can belong to a single category. An example like what I mentioned in the data set, a category of contains car would be car manufacturer. Car manufacturers, I hope you all know about it. It may be Toyota, or it may be Honda, or it may be Ford, or some other manufacturers also. So type of category or type of model we may able to predict. Okay, and the next thing is object. An object is used to identify specific terms in an image or specific frames in a video. Okay, object is generally called as a specific term in an image. In an image, you are having a picture of yours along with some background. Okay, if you wish to predict your face only in that image, means that is to be an object. Okay, so you can label multiple objects in an image or a frame in a video. An example of objects in an image of cars might be you able to predict the wheel of the car, where it is located, along with the headlights and windshield and some other parts also. If you wish to predict that particular region, means you can able to predict that particular area or particular region is said to be an object. Okay. And next thing is image classification. There are two type of image classifications is there. One is binary model and second one is categorical model. Binary model means whether the object is present or not. Okay. The simple GIF picture is shown here. The GIF picture provides a seafood, that is hot dog is available or not. Okay. In this portion you may able to see seafood hot dog, and another picture seafood not hot dog. Whether it is available or not, it may be 0 or it may be 1. So this is called as binary model. Okay. For image classification, you want to build a solution that can examine an image and properly classify it accordingly to your model. Okay. So in this picture, you may able to predict whether a hot dog is available or not. Okay. And second most important thing is categorical. Okay. This is also a bit of image classification. Here we can able to predict, for example, a model is trying to categorize an image of the bird, of a bird. The following example, Shift app runs on an iPhone, which is shown in the back, shown in the figure, and classifies a picture of a seagull as genus Laurus with 100% confidence. That one is shown in this picture that shows it is 100% belong to Laurus category. Okay, it will assign some probability score. For example, if this provides 0.7 means 70% it says it belongs to Laurus category. 30% it might not be a Laurus category. So system may able to give some categorical value also in terms of percentage. Okay. And next important thing is object detection. First, what we say means image classification with the help of binary model and with the help of categorical model. And second thing is object detection. How to detect an object in a particular image or a frame in a video. Okay. So this is the most important thing. As you see in this picture, there are variety of Coca-Cola bottle are shown here, and consequently you can able simultaneously you can able to see the object is detected. Correspondingly, the corresponding confidence score also provided there. Okay. For example, in the leftmost picture, Coca-Cola confidence level is 0.999. That means it is confidently saying that 99% it belongs, 99.9% it belongs to Coca-Cola bottle. And next thing is Coke Zero. Okay, second bottle from the left question is Coke Zero. It also provides 99.99% that it is comes under Coke Zero model. And third thing is Diet Coke. Okay, it also provides an accuracy of 99.99%. So it's a you are going to detect an object from an image or a frame in a video. It is also possible to develop it. Okay. And next to most important thing is object tracking in videos. Okay, these are all used for normally surveillance things. Okay, or in a particular road or highway, how many vehicles are crossed for a particular period of time, at what time traffic might be usual, or traffic density could be more. We can able to predict with the help of the count. Okay. So as you can see in this picture, the car detected numbers are counted parallelly. Okay, this is also possible with the help of object tracking case. Okay, the initial object detection can be done by extracting frame from the video and detecting object in the frame. It could be done in a fraction of second. In addition to counting object and locating each object, tracking the object as they move from the frame to frame adds another dimension to what you can do. The following example shows how the object tracking code pattern used object detection along with the object tracking to annotate a video and counting the car. Okay, this is also very much useful for identifying a traffic density in a highway. So these are all the couple of examples what I wish to tell, that is image classification, and another part is object detection. Okay. Next thing is how to build our customized model. So this is the most crucial step involved in the deep learning scenario. If you are having some proper data set for your problem statement, then this is the second most step for you to create a model. Okay, model is normally a lot of work has to be done to use deep learning and convolutional neural network. Okay, CNN in short form it is mentioned as CNN to recognize object in images. So existing model already understand how to recognize uh, the edges, shape, pattern, and so on. Okay, so in the previous case, what we say mean bad classifier. All we need is a good set of example images of bats of each type that we want to recognize. Using transfer learning, it's a kind of technique, and this new data set with the known expected result, we can create a customized model for bad image classification. Okay, but creation as well as development of this model could take some amount of time. Okay, if your model is working very well, mean your output result might be very good. Okay, so the next, after creating a particular model, the next step is you are going to train that model, you are going to validate the model, and the next step is you are going to test the model. Okay, these are all the another three steps followed by the customized model creation. Okay, training. We are going to train the model by taking some portions of the data set. For example, if you are having around 1,000 images of different types of cars, means first and foremost thing is you need to train the data set into your model. Probably most optimum ratio is 70:30. 70:30 means 70% of the data set could be used for training purpose, and the results are also validated whether my training is properly responded or not, my machine is properly responded or not. Then you may go for testing phase. The remaining 30% of data set is used for testing purpose. Okay, training a model is also a important step. It will take some computation time depending upon the configuration of your system. The computation time maybe varies from few minutes to lot of hours. Okay, training a model is essentially the process of iterating over example images and adjusting the weights to improve the accuracy of a prediction algorithm. And validation is nothing but after you are giving the training whether my model is properly responded or not. So okay, so if your model is behaving after the training, if your model is producing around more than 90% of accuracy mean, then that model is said to be a good model. If your model is less than producing less than 50% mean, then your produced model is again it is somewhat below the par level. Okay, then you need to train the model with some additional data set. Okay, and you need to adjust some weight also. Okay, adjust the weight in the node portion also. Okay, validation is also an important part which is comes after training phase. Then the rest 30% of data could be used for testing purpose. Okay, you are going to test the model after training and validation. Okay, testing also having certain kind of accuracy. You need to check the testing accuracy also. Okay, keep that in your mind. There are two things, that is splitting the data set into two portions. One is training portion and another one is testing portion. Okay, the optimum ratio is 70:30. Okay, 70% of data set could be utilized for training purpose and 30% of data set could be utilized for testing purpose. Okay, suppose if we vary, for example, if I'm going to use 90% of data is to be used for training purpose, mean then the concept is that then one problem may occur, that is called as overfitting. Okay, your model is too much trained, but if you wish to give a new image which is not available in the existing data set, mean then it will produce some poor result. Okay, that is said to be overfitting. Okay, and similarly, if you are using 50% for training and 50% of testing means, then that concept is said to be underfitting. Okay, there are two key terms are there. That is, one is called as overfitting and another one is called as underfitting. Overfitting is nothing but you are training too much, but test data is very low. Okay, and underfitting is nothing but you are doing training with less amount of data. That is said to be underfitting. Okay, the system is not able to train the well, mean it won't produce some good result in testing phase 2. Okay, so keep that in your mind, that two concept also. Okay, optimum ratio is 70:30. Okay, 70% is used for training and 30% is used for testing. In some other people may do 75% for training, 25% for testing, 80% for training, and 20% for testing. That also works, but optimum level is 70:30. Okay, and I wish to conclude my presentation with these of examples. Okay, you may see in automotive sector, you may monitor busy intersections of near miss incidents. Okay, and next thing is in consumer goods, monitor product quality as or quantity on shelves. Okay, counting operations. And healthcare, deduction of some images. With the help of images you can able to detect whether a person is having corona or not, or a person is having cancer or not. You can able to detect with the help of images, with the help of that raw data. Then manufacturing, counting and classifying items on a conveyor belt in a conventional production operation or in a manufacturing. And in media, analyze effectiveness of advertising placement. Okay, effectiveness of advertising placement. Similarly, we can do lot of sentiment analysis. Okay, sentiment analysis is nothing but whether my product is liked by customer. Okay, how many people liked my product, how many people disliked my product. Suppose if I wish to release a movie on my platform, mean how many people liked my movie, how many people not liked my movie. So these data are comes under sentiment analysis. You can do that sentiment analysis portion too. Okay, and another last thing is energy. Okay, remote inspection of infrastructure using drones. We can able to do those case studies also. Okay, the most of the things are taken from IBM Computer Vision article. I hope I will give a couple of introductory and basic terminologies for you. It would be very much useful for you to carry over the next two sessions. Okay, let's begin. I think you are all ready, and we are going to start the next phase or next session immediately. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Vanikadin sir. So thank you. You are very nicely explained the terminology and procedures we have to follow while doing work in the deep learning. So now I introduce our next session resource person, Mr. K. Amudan, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Ramco Institute of Technology. He is having more than 3 years teaching experience. He also published many journals in various streams, and also he has taken 1 month training in the field of artificial intelligence in the Bennett University, Noida. He also the in charge of NCC in our college. Now I welcome you, sir, for this session. Amudan, sir.
Yes, sir. Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, sir. You are presenting, sir.
I think it's visible. Okay. Good evening, one and all present here. I'm happy that many of you joined during this evening session. And in this session, and my objective of this session is, it will be a very basic session or for a beginner who is completely new to this machine learning or artificial intelligence coding, deep learning coding. This session will be really helpful. Those who thought that machine learning is something big or something like that, this session will be give an idea for them to apply the code. Okay, it is like a beginner level course, I think. Okay, so this will be the order for any testing process, any deep learning process. So first thing is you have to get some data, and next you have to pre-process the data. Once you have to train the model, next you have to test the model. And if you want to still improve your accuracy of the model, you have to once again train your model. So after 5, it will be once again going back to the step 3. So this is the process which will be used for any types of learning processes, deep learning process. So what is the thing I want to convey is the term model will be odd for anyone. Model, what is the thing model like that? It is nothing but the code. Or using some programming language, you have to prepare a code. Using Python or using MATLAB, you can develop a model. That is the code. For developing the code also, nowadays Python is having some inbuilt libraries for that. So using that inbuilt libraries, you can develop your model very easily. Okay, I'm not familiarized with Python syntax, or I'm not familiarized with MATLAB syntax. It is not at all a problem. What you can do is, there are many websites. There is GitHub, there is some Kaggle to get data sets. There are many websites from which you can download the code and you can simply run yourself using your own computer, or run, you can use some Colabs or Jupyter Labs. You can run that code and you can learn that. Okay. Another thing is transfer learning. There is a concept called transfer learning. What you can do is you can use a model for one specific problem. You can get a model from one specific problem and you can apply your data sets in that model, and you can find how is the accuracy of your prediction like that. For example, I like to say that if there is a model that is to predict cars, the model is trained to predict cars and it is giving an accuracy of some 80 or 85% it is giving. Your objective is to detect the trucks. So what you can do is you can train that particular model. You can get the syntax of that particular model and you can train that particular model with truck data sets. So once that model is complete and small reprogramming and other things is complete, you have developed a model for detecting the truck in it. Okay, this is how your developing a model will be there. And nowadays there are unsupervised learning. The levels of learning has been much improved. That in day-to-day life you might have been experienced many ads, targeted advertisements and other things. Everything is based on this background, artificial intelligence and deep learning, based on this only. There are perfect coding. There are experts codings who are getting data from us and they are developing model and they are upgrading their model to get our taste, and they are giving some targeted advertisements. Everything will be coming under this. Okay, first I will say what is the mathematics behind it, or simply an analytical formula, what is happening behind this deep learning and other things. And next we can go for two codes. If time permits, we can execute two models. One is digit identification using MNIST dataset, and another one is CIFAR-10 dataset, which is a very old dataset. These both datasets are these both programs. In these both programs, we will be going on with object classification. So you will be also parallelly executing the code in your Google Colab. I will help you to work in Google Colab, and I will explain you the syntax and what is the order it is happening, how your code is getting executed. Those things it will be explained in this particular session. Okay, now we can go to the some mathematical parts of this concept. Okay, just imagine that this is. Okay. We all know that this is your a small graphical representation. This you will be saying this as x-axis, and this you will be saying this as y-axis. Okay, these are your samples. These are your samples, and you need to connect all these samples using a model. So your model will be like this. Okay, we all know that the equation of the line is. We all know that for deep learning and artificial intelligence, the basic is logistic regression and linear regression. So we will be starting from here. I will not be much using the mathematical terminologies, but I will be giving a glimpse of it so that you can predict it. Okay, y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, this is the equation. So in deep learning, what we are going to do with this particular equation is we will be identifying, or once you are training the model, you will be able to locate this m and c. For example, the value 5 here and m x is 3 plus c. So first you will be training your model. So you will be first training your model. So during training, what you will be doing is you will be using labeled images. So labeled images means if you are going for a car identification problem, or if you are going to go for a crack detection problem, you will be giving the labeled data sets. Labeled data sets means the object will be given one particular value for it. For example, if it is a car of Maruti, a car image will be given and the label for it is Maruti. Another car will be given, the label for it is Hyundai. Similarly, you will be having this Y and X. Y and X will be given. So based on that, while you train your model, this is a labeled data set. This is a label where Y's values, Y is 5 and the value of X is 3. So during training process, when you are running your model, running your model, what will happen is this M and C will be getting updated. So what will be the value of M and C once it is completely trained? So your value of M will be like this. Maybe M will be 1 and 3 plus C will be 2. Okay, C will be 2. So this will be happening after training. Once the training is complete, you will be knowing the value for M and C. M and C you will be knowing. Now what you have to do is you will know the value of X. You will know the value of X. You will know the image. You will be giving the value of the car you will be giving. Okay. Now you will know the value M. And here some other value, something maybe if you are giving 3, you are giving the value 3. This will be, as you are having the M and C updated, you will be having this 5. So this is for testing. So during testing, for your corresponding X value, you will get the Y value. So this is the simple explanation of how your deep learning model works based on the logistic regression or linear regression. This is a straight model, so linear regression concept works. Once again, I'm saying Y is equal to MX plus C. So in deep learning process or in linear regression basics, while you are training your model, your M value and C value will be getting updated. In terms of deep learning, what you will say this Y is equal to WX plus B you will be saying. So W, this 2 will be in matrix, so you will be multiplying in transpose. You will be using transpose multiplication. So this is the bias value. Now you take the example for this particular line. This particular problem, you can take this example. So before you are running the model, you are executing your code, your model will be like this. The value of B and value of C will be initially 0, or it will be some random value. So it will be like this. So once you start to iterate your model will be growing like this. Your model will be growing like this. And at last, at one particular point, what will happen is your model will be getting fitted. So initially, based on your M and C value, your line will be like this. Next, it will be growing like this. Next, it will be growing like this. Next, it will be growing like this. And at one particular point, that point you may say that you will be having some 95% accuracy. Your model will be correctly fitting all the samples here. Some samples it may be ignored, it will be fitting. So next what you will be finding is you have to find the error. So error is the difference between the actual value and the predicted value. So this will be some error value. Okay. So for any model for testing, you will be going for 2 accuracies. First, after training, you will be calculating the training accuracy. And next, once you are going to test your model, validate your model, you will be going for testing accuracy. In addition to this, you will be calculating a loss. Loss is, if you are a mechanical guy, it is similar to that of error in your model. Error. What is the difference between actual value and predicted value? For calculating loss, for calculating accuracy. Accuracy in the sense, your model's accuracy, if say your model is 95% accurate, what is the sense is, if you are giving 100 models, if you are for testing, if you are giving 100 models, it will be able to predict the 95 models correctly, and 5 models it will not be able to predict it correctly. So your model is called, so their model is set as 95% efficient. So for loss function calculation, you will be having, for calculating loss function, you will be having some separate formulas will be there. There are some separate formulas. Okay, those things you can refer. Loss function, you will be having separate formulas. Now you can go for this. Okay. This is the neural network. This is neural network. As we are going to work on images today, we are going to work on image classification today. You have to know something basic about this neural network. What is happening there? There is some relation between the concept what we learned here. Y is equal to W transpose X plus B. there is a relation. Okay. And these are your input parameters. These input parameters are your features in the image. These features in your image, or it may be any problem. You can take any artificial intelligence, any deep learning problem. It may be house price prediction, or it may be weather forecasting. For that, many features will be there. For example, if you are going to buy a bike, there will be some many features will be there. You have to check the mileage of the bike. Some people will be checking the aesthetic value. Some people will be checking the cost of the bikes. Some people will check whether it is eco-friendly or not. So those things it will be the input features for that. After getting the input features, everything will be allocated with some weights. Preference. Your preferences will be weight. Some will be giving more preference for the mileage, and some will be giving more preference for your speed, how the bike is performing at highways and things. Those things they will be performing. So for that, weights will be here. So once here you will be having this activation. So for this only, this value you will be having the value for y. Y is WTX plus B. So for this problem, for example, now here are 4 nodes. Say for example, here it is given. Here it is given as m nodes. Just to say we are having 4 nodes. So 4 nodes. So at this particular value, you will be having like this. W1 T x1 plus or B1 plus WT transpose x2 plus B2 plus W3 transport x3 plus B3. So you will be having some parameters like this. So 4 into 1, 4 by 4 plus 1. You'll be having 5 values, 5 parameters you have to train in this particular. So here there are 4 nodes. These 4 nodes, this here are input parameters, 4 features are here, and you will be having 4 weights for that. 4 input features means you will be having 4 weights, and you will be having 4 bias for it. So you will be totally having 5. So once this is complete, you will be giving this value, this y. This y will be given into an activation function. So for example, there are many activation functions like ReLU, sigmoid, and there are functions like tanh. There are many activation functions. So next you will be giving your function here. For example, for this is an example for sigmoid function. So sigmoid function, your output will be it is also in formula. It will be like this. So what will be the output of sigmoid function is the value will be either 0 or 1. So at the end of your neural network, you will be having 0 or 1. This can be used for object detection. If your value is 0, there is no object present. So if your value is 1 in the output, then the object is detected. For that, you can use sigmoid function. So similarly, that is tanh function. At last, there is another function called as softmax function. So today we will be going on using softmax function. I will say that why we are going for softmax function. So this is how your neural network works. This is for a general concept of deep learning features. This can be used for RNN or image text prediction or image prediction. You can use it. But especially when you come for images, when you go with images, you will be having like this. Okay. So this is how your images will be there. Every image will be represented in terms of pixels. Okay. So there will be pixels will be arranged here. And this is an example. For example, this is an image with 16 cross 16. So when you are flattening it, 16 cross 16, you will be getting 256. The value you will be getting is 256. You will be having a long value like this. For example, you can say the pixel value 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. You will be having 256 values. So this is a grayscale image. So you will not. So the value will be 1. If similarly, if it is a color image, you will be having RGB, red, green, blue. So what you have to do is 256 into 3. So you will be having still a higher value. You will be having 768 values. So this entire value you have to flatten it. So you can see this image from x1 to x256 they are given. This is a grayscale image, so they are given up to 256. So if it is an RGB, once again you have to multiply it with 3. So next is you are giving a hidden layer nodes. Hidden layer nodes they are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are given 5 nodes. They are given here. The number 5 is for this particular problem. They are given 5. You can also use 6 nodes. You can use 7 nodes. The number of nodes can be decided by you. Okay. At last, what you have to do is, this is an alphabet classification problem, we can say, alphabet classification. So you will have to name from A to Z. So 26 output values you will be having from A to Z. So for example, if it is A, your A node should be activated. So A node should produce 1, and remaining rest, all other values will be producing 0. So this is where you will be using softmax layer. Softmax layer will be giving the probability at the end. Okay, so 26 alphabets at 1 here. Okay, why we can't you go for a direct flattening of images is, there is two things are there. So once you are flattening this image, just imagine that you are flattening this A image. What will happen is, just imagine here is a dark node here. This place it is dark, and the near node here is white. Just say that this is the 25th pixel and this is the 26th pixel. But when you flatten it, what will happen is, this 25th pixels value will be at some 4th location, and 26th pixels value will be in some 50th location or that. So what will happen is, once you are shifting this image to the next nodes and other things, you will be losing the features. Another important thing is, this is a simple 16x16 grayscale image. For this, you are having 256 features. But nowadays we are having some high definition cameras, so that with that we are producing so very clear images with 4K pixels. So just imagine 4,000 images, 4,000 pixels into, just we are connecting just to say 5. So you will be having 20,000 parameters to getting trained. So obviously we will not go for one particular layer. We will be going for 2 or 3 layers. So your trainable parameters will be more. So the problem will be becoming, once again, it will be becoming complex. So what method we will be going for image processing is, you will be going for a method called as convolutional neural network. You will be going for CNN, they used to say. For image processing, it is, you will be saying with CNN. Convolution neural network. Okay, we will be going for convolutional neural network. So what is the process in convolution is, you will not flatten the image immediately. You will go for processing the image. If I show you an image, if I show you an GIF image, you will be able to identify the process of convolution very clearly here. So now you can see that this is a image. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5 x 5 image, and we are placing a 3 x 3 filter over it. In the image there is a 5 x 5 image is there, and you are placing a 3 x 3 filter over it. This image is represented in terms of a matrix, and this 3 x 3 filter is also represented in terms of a matrix. Okay, you are placing this over it. So once you are placing this, and you are doing an operation called as striding. So before getting that, you have to know some more terminologies. You will be saying pooling, and you will be saying striding. In pooling there is max pooling. There are some parameters are here. Okay, these things. Striding means it is moving the pixels, moving the filter over the image by how many pixels we are jumping the filter what you have placed over the image, in which pattern or how many jumps we are making is called as striding. Okay, so in a nutshell, if I want to say convolution, what is happening is, without flattening the image directly, while you are placing the filter over this original image, we are extracting the features of this particular image. So what is happening is, when you are placing a 3 x 3 matrix filter over a 5 x 5 image, the objective what you are getting is, you have reduced the size of the image. You are getting a 3 x 3 matrix, but the features of the matrix is never altered. Without altering or without loss of the features in the image, you are getting a new convolved feature. So this is the process of convolution. Okay, so direct point-wise multiplication. You will be multiplying this. Here this matrix is 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 3 x 3 matrix. You'll be directly multiplying it, and you will be adding it, so the value will be getting it. The feature will not get lost. That is the main purpose of convolution. Okay, and now I will show you how a network is convolution. So today we will be going with this particular problem, but we are not going, we will flatten it immediately, but this is an example for it. So this is your image, input image. The dimension for it is, the dimension for this particular input image is 28 cross 1. The use of 1 here is it is representing it is a grayscale image. If it is a color image, here it will be 3 when it is going for RGB. Okay. So what will happen is here this is your input image and you are keeping N1 filters. N1 means there is a number of filters you are keeping. Okay. So over a 28 cross 28 image, you are keeping a you are placing a, see, this is a 5 cross 5 filter. So once you are placing a 5 cross 5 kernel or filter over it, convolution is happening. So this is the stacks. It is like a bread stacks you are getting. It is the number of filters you have used. So N1, it may be 8 filters or 10 filters. It may be number of filters you are using. So once you are giving the number of filters, it will be stacked here like this. So if it is 8 means 8 layers will be here. So next what we'll be doing is from 28 cross 28, your image size is reduced to 24 cross 21. So next what you are going to do is you are going to do a max pooling operation. Pooling operation, what is the result of pooling operation is you are going to place a 2 cross 2 filter over it. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what you are going to keep is you are going to right. Okay, this is your image. This is your image. Now you are going to place here. There is the value of the pixels may be like this, 3, 4, 2, 0. It may be like this. Now what you are going to do is you are going to place a 2 cross 2 filter. You are going to place a 2 cross 2 filter. Okay, that 2 cross 2 filter you are going to carry out max pooling operation. So when you are calculating max pooling operation, in this particular 2 cross 2 matrix pixel, which value is highest here is 6. So only the 6 feature will be excluded here. So next it will be jumping here. In this you will be getting 4. Similarly here some values will be here. Next it will be kept here. Next it will be kept here. So from this 3 cross 3, it is reduced to 2 cross 2. So that is an operation called as max pooling. So once again, the size of the image is getting reduced without the features getting destroyed. So once again, you are keeping a 5 cross 5 kernel over it, and the size is further it is reduced to 8 cross 8. And last, you are having a 4 cross 4 matrix. And last, that particular 4 cross 4 matrix is flattened. If you flatten here, you will be having 28 cross 28. You will be having 784 nodes. You will be having, but at last here, when you are flattening it and while you are using it here, you will be having only 16 nodes you will be having. Okay, that is the concept here. 16 nodes from 784 nodes to you are reduced to 16 nodes. So after that you can use some layers. You can use some layers in between it, and at last the output layer, the number of nodes you have to use is only 10 nodes you have to use, because this in mindset in MNIST data set you will be having handwritten digits. So handwritten digits means from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You will be, sorry, 10 it will not come. 9 values you will be having. So it is having 10 classes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 classes it is having. 10 classes. So at the end you will be having 10 classes here. So at last you will be having a softmax layer. Softmax layer gives the probability. So for example, if the digit 2 is here, this particular node will be having 1, and correspondingly all other nodes will be having the value 0. So from that, it is the label we can predict is the value is 2, you can easily identify. Okay, this is how a convolution layer works. And in our coding, we will be using a new word called dense network. They will be saying dense. What is the meaning of dense network is each and every node of the 2 layers are both completely connected. For example, the input layer nodes and hidden layer nodes are completely connected. So 3 nodes here is completely connected to this 4 nodes. This is a dense node. It's a dense node. So for example, if there is 3 nodes are here and 2 nodes are in the second layer, You are connecting here. Now this is not a dense layer because still this node is not connected with the previous layer. So this is what called as a dense layer. Okay. So this is how convolution works, and we will be applying convolution for image detection, mostly for image detection, image classification. They will be going for CNN, convolution neural network. I hope that I gave the gist of what is necessary for image classification. Okay, the takeaway from this session is you have to know what is convolution. You will be having some if you are new to this deep learning concept, you will be having an idea that every image will be completely flattened and it will be used for image identification. Matrix will be completely converted into a vector. But using CNN, what will happen is you will pre-process the image, only then you will be converting into a vector, and then you will be solving the problem. Okay. But today in hands-on session, I'm going to use Google Colab. So the model what I have used is very simple. So I will not be applying CNN concept here. I will be using neural network concept only. I will be flattening the image directly. This is to expose you how a neural network works. How you can execute your code, execute a simple problem using Google Colab, and the sequence of the program also you should be aware of. That is the objective of this particular session. I think now we can go for Google Colab, and in today's session we will be working on two particular data sets. Okay, I'll be first one is digit identification, and second one is object classification. Okay, why I have chosen these two problems is, in internet, if you are searching, there are people who are coding. Everyone will be preferring a different way of coding. Okay, I have taken two codes from internet in a way that in half an hour, in half an hour, how I could be explaining the flow of the problem. For that, I have taken two particular codes. Okay. One is for digit identification. They will be in digit identification. You will be having 10 classes. In object classification also, you will be having 10 classes. What is the difference between these two things is, in digit identification, you will be going for a grayscale image, and in object classification, you will be having a colored image. So that is the difference between both the things. In both the program also, you are going to flatten the image and you are going to execute it. The syntax for this particular code will be different from programming language to programming language, but the flow of the problem or the process what we are going to follow will be the same. If you are experienced in coding, you will be exposed to better libraries, and you can reduce the number of lines for coding or exciting the features. You can use it. Okay. Now I think we can start our Google Colab session. I will post the code. I have tried this code, and we will not get some maximum accuracy here. There is also some flaw in this code. Flaw in the sense we will not get maximum accuracy. Okay, and I will post the code parallelly in the chat box. Once you are completed, please let me know, and we can go parallelly. Okay, now please everyone open please Google Colab. I will post the link also if you are able to.
Amudan sir.
Hi sir.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yes,
just tell the procedure to open the Google Colab too, because
okay.
most of the participants are not aware about it.
Okay, sir. I have dropped a link in the chat box. If you just click this link, you will be opening Google Colab. Please acknowledge me, participants. Once you have opened Google Colab, please let me know. This is how your screen looks like when you have used this code in the chat box. Okay, fine. Okay. 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 Now here what you are going to do is you are going to create a new notebook. So here you can see new notebook, and you'll be having cells aligned one after the other. You are going to place the code there and you are going to execute it and you are going to see the results. So whatever, if you, it will be linked to your Gmail. Once you have to sign in with it. Now I have signed in with ARC, RAT, RJPM, so it is with it. The program, what you try here, everything will be in your Drive, Google Drive. It will be there. So you can open it, and if you want to upgrade your code, you can open Jupyter New. So we are going with Google Colabs. Okay. Okay. You can run the code with anything, any platform. You can run the code. Okay. So parallelly, I'll be posting both the things. Okay, this is the first line of code. Please paste this. Please paste this. Others, please don't interrupt me while you are while I'm submitting the code, because what will be the problem is when someone is they will be placing their line of code in a different manner. If they are new to this deep learning concept, or if they are very new to this, sometimes due to working with data. Okay, Pali Karmakar, you can ask your queries at the end of the session. Okay, this is your first line of code. I have pasted here. So once you have posted here, so actually you'll be typing. So we have less time. I want to explain the syntax of the program and the flow of the program. So we will be going for this. Okay. So before working with deep learning, you have to know about some platforms and some libraries. For deep learning, especially for image classification and image identification, you can use a platform called as TensorFlow. TensorFlow is through Google. Tensor. Okay, to say how to. Sir, Valaganesh sir, if you are available, please post the Google Colab link once again. This is the link for opening the Google Colab. Once you have entered inside Google Colab, you can create a new notebook, and in the notebook you can place the code what I have given here. You can paste this particular code. Okay. So once this is complete, I like to say this. Okay, matplotlib. This plotting sequence, this plotters why we are using is we are not going to see only the end result. We are going to see the intermediate results also. As I have told you previously, this particular concept, this weights and bias will be getting updated periodically as you train your model. That is for that particular purpose, and for visualizing your data set, we will be using this plot library, matplot.pylab and pylab.plot we will be using. So next thing is, that was I was saying, TensorFlow and Keras. Keras is an library, deep learning library. In that it will be having in Keras there are many libraries, inbuilt library which will be having many functions which will be used for working on deep learning concepts or deep learning programming, or you are programming for deep learning, it will be very, very useful. And there are also some in Keras there are also some old data sets available. So you can see in this particular line, from Keras data sets import MNIST. MNIST data set I will show you. So this is called as MNIST dataset. This is I'm just saying this is how an MNIST dataset, the images in MNIST dataset looks like. Okay, these are handwritten digits. These are completely handwritten digits. So there will be totally of 60,000 images in the datasets. So while you are going to develop a model, we will be So first one is MNS3 dataset. Here there are totally 60,000 images. So while Vala Ganesh sir was explaining, he told that how to segregate training images and testing images. I am going to, or in this particular model, it is segregated like this. 50,000 images. I think that it will be 80%. I think so. 80% for training, and 10,000 it will be used for testing. So what you are going to do is using your code or model, you are going to show your model that this 50,000 images, using this 50,000 labeled images. So what is labeled images means, if this particular digit 0 na, it will be given as value as 0. If it is 1, in the label it will be given as 1. If it is number 2, the label for it is given as 2. So using this labeled data sets, you will be training this. So once the training is complete, you will be using this 10,000 data sets, 10,000 images in the data set for testing purpose. Okay, so it is not limited that you have to test with only this particular 10,000 images. You can also download a new image and you can import this in the model, and you can test your accuracy of your model, how your model is predicting it. Okay, so this is how you are going to segregate it, 50,000 and 10,000. And Keras library has this inbuilt model. This Keras library has this inbuilt model. So inbuilt data set. So you can import this from it and you can run it. So now you are executing. So it is here. You can see it is connecting. And you will be having a RAM here. You are running it through GPU. Okay, it's connected and it has been executed. Now what you have to do is to add the next cell, you can click code. So next what you are going to do is you are going to download the data set, and before that you are going to batch you are going to use, or you are going to declare the batch size, number classes, and number of epochs. So these three terms, batch size, and so if there is any mechanical persons, you will be knowing this. What do you mean by, so the next line of code is here. You can use it. The first thing is batch size. There are totally 50,000 images. While you are training the model, if you are not giving any batch size, it will be assuming some batch size. It will be segregated. It will be getting its own batch size. The purpose of giving batch size is your model will be getting updated after completing 128 images. Once your 128 images is trained, your model will be getting updated. After 128 images get tested, your model will be updated. So for continuous updation of model, you will be going for a batch size. So once you reduce the batch size, you are saying 100. So, or you can say 50. For 50 images, one particular batch. Your model will be updating for every 50 model training. Once your 50 images are getting trained, your model will update itself. Okay, that is for batch size. And the next is num classes. So number of classes. So this is a classification problem where we are having digits from 0 to 9. So your number of classes will be 10. And next one is epochs. Epochs means it is the iteration. How many times you are executing your model, how many times you are running the model. In ANSYS, if you are if you are a mechanical engineer, you will be knowing it. If you are running your ANSYS simulation, there will be a series of equations will be getting solved through many iterations. Parallelly, it will be getting solved. That particular thing is called as epoch. So when you increase the number of epochs, your accuracy will obviously improve. So those things also you have to see. So what we have done is we have see here if you see the batch size we are using here is 128. The batch size we are using is 128. Your model will be getting updated after a sequence of 128 images continuously. After 128 images are getting trained, your model will be. So number classes 10 and epochs. And here you are here load data. You are loading this. you are loading the MNST dataset. So as this is an inbuilt dataset available in Keras, if you run this cell, your dataset will be.
Amudan sir,
Sir.
hashtag is missing in the first line, sir. Hashtag import, hashtag
Okay.
import data.
Okay, sorry. Yes. So now it will be the syntax error. Okay, now you can see that. Now you can see your data is getting downloaded. MNST data is downloaded and the process is complete. So you will be having 60,000 images. To check that, what you can do is you can go for the next cell. You can post your please use this next code. It is a reshaping. Here you are having 60,000 images and here 784. This 784 is actually this size is 28. So 28 cross 28, you will be having the 784. That is for here it is given. So float is for having some precise values. We are using float here. So next you are going to normalize your data. So the purpose of normalizing is, and before that we can print this data and see. And give a number, any number between this. For example, you say 11. Okay, this is how your image will be. So you are giving the value of the particular image. So this is how your image value will be here. When you are giving 11 is a number here. And in training data sets, you are giving a number here and you are printing it. So while you are printing it, you can see that the value here is 31, 40, 129, 234, something like that. In between the pixel values are like that. But next, what you have to do is you have to normalize the values. The need for normalizing is, for color images, you will be having values from 0 to 25. 0 to 25. So you can see that the values will be varying from. So in this value will be here 25 is here 205 is here 235 is here 108. So you will be having some different values will be here. So these every values for training data set for the images will be, it should be reduced to, it should be moving from 0 to 1. So what you will do? So what you have to do is you will be dividing all the values by 255. That is how you are going to normalize your image. So for that you are going to normalize here. See, you are going to place it here. So we are not going to use pooling. We are not going to apply convolution here. Simply this is a neural network image detection problem only. We are not going. I'm not going to use pooling here. Okay. Next is for normalizing. So it is getting normalized. So now we can print the same thing and see. We can print the same X value here. See, when you print it here and see. So now if you see that your value will be in the range of 0 to 1. And in this particular image, the value of this particular 11th image was 25 to 35. But when you are going for this normalization, once this normalization is done, all the values will be lying between 0 to 1. Okay. Now we will be going for the next process. Next we will be going for categorical. This they will be saying it as one hot encoding. Okay. Okay. Here we are having 60,000. Sorry, I told that 50,000. Totally 70,000 images, I think. So it will be classified into 60,000 training samples and 10,000 testing samples. It is getting segregated. So what does this categorical means? Output value will be a binary value. Output value will be a binary value. So for example, it will be a value like this. The output of the nodes will be like this. For example, 1, 2. Now if you see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, this is the value. Here all the values are 0. This is your node, I said. Nodes. These are all nodes. These are all nodes, output nodes. Last 10 nodes we will be using. These are the 10 nodes you are using. The output value will be like this. To say that for this particular value, if this particular node is getting activated, your corresponding binary value will be like this. Or you can say there will be some aptitude questions where you have to decode and encode some concepts. For example, F will be represented as 0, G will be represented as 1. There will be some aptitude questions like that. So further, what you are doing here is you are categorizing your outputs of the node. That is what this categorical. So what you are doing, this is called as one hot encoding. They will be saying, yes, that is what called as one hot encoding. What you are doing is you are categorizing your output values. Okay, this is how you are categorizing here. So while you are visualizing this data, you can see this. Okay, now it's time for visualizing your data. Okay, now here they are given, you can label this like this to using this index also, or you can simply label something like this. Then I'm placing it here. Yes, 60,000. I told that 50,000. Sorry, it was 60,000 training samples. Okay, now it is here. So in 2:3 or 2:3, you can use your own consecutive values. You can either represent it with an index or you can use a whole number for it. You can use a number for it to predict the values. Okay, here I have given 10 here. Now I am visualizing the data. Now you can see this. Now you can see this. And this is the label for it. This is the label I am getting. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So totally there are 10 classes. The image what I expected or the image which is plot is 0. So 0 means it is the first node here. 0 means it is the first node here. So 0 means it's the first node here. So this value will be 1 and remaining all other things will be 0. So the label for this particular 0 is, this label is, it will be like this 1 0 0 0 0. Then it will be okay. So this is the concept. So here you have plot the label here. Okay. So in between the code you can have some doubts here. Train dot shape 0, test dot shape 0. So as I told you earlier, you can have this in this physical process. You can always have this. So X is giving the features and Y is the label here. X is the features and Y is the label. Features indicates the pixels. Label indicates this values, the number or the corresponding label. What is it to say that we are using this labels? So 0 will be used for indicating the x-axis. 1 will be used for indicating the y-axis. Shape dot 0 they are giving, that is the purpose of it. Okay. Okay, now you have visualized it. You have also seen the label for it. Now what you are going to do is you are going to design your model. So this is a simple model. This is a simple model. So once you post this model, you can learn something. Okay. See here. This is a simple model. So the first layer size is given as 32. Sorry. The first layer size, this you can change it. First layer means it is a hidden layer. The first layer, we'll use a paint for it. Initially, you are not going for convolution. This I'm using. Initially, you will be having 784 nodes. You will be having 784 nodes. This is from your image. This is from your image. You will be having 784 nodes. You will be having here. So from next layer, you are going to have 32 layers, 32 nodes. Sorry, 32 nodes. So how many trainable parameters will be there in the first set? So how many trainable parameters will be here? 784 into 32 plus 32 bias you will be having. So we all know that formula for y transpose we were knowing that wt into x plus bias. So that is the concept. It is coming here. So you will be having you will be having for first nodes for you will be having 25120 trainable parameters. This is for trainable. We need to train these much parameters. You need to train these much weights. You need to train these much weights. Okay. Next, what will happen is you will be going for the second layer. Second layer also, second hidden layer also, there is 32. And third also you are having 32. And last you are having softmax activation layer. For activation function, you can use ReLU also, but ReLU is not needed for this particular problem. Here you need only zeros and ones. Either my output should be 0 or 1. So you are going for a sigmoid function here. So sigmoid activation is here used. So if you are going for ReLU function, it will trace only positive values. There is no chance for getting negative values here. So you can go for sigmoid function. And last layer you will be having, last layer see here, num classes. So what we are defined in num classes, we have totally defined as 10 numbers. Last node, it should be 10. Last node, it should be 10. Okay. So last layer is activation softmax. So you are executing this. We have to visualize how this model is there. So we can use model.summary. So when you are printing model.summary, please listen the code. I think many of you are not going with it. Our time is within 7:30. I have to complete 2 programs. So the code will be given to you, and it is a recorded session. So you can see this. Okay. You can get a summarized report of your model using this model.summary, and you can see this here. So this is a sequential type of model. There is other type called as functional API. There are several models. This is a sequential model. So all the layers are dense layers. It means that the layers in the 2 nodes or the nodes in the 2 layers are completely interconnected to each other. So first between the 2 things you will be having 25,120 trainable parameters, and second thing you will be having 32. So 32 into 32 you will be having 784 plus thing you will be having 1056. Next layer you will be having 1056. And last layer you will be having 32 into 10. 32 into 10, 320 plus 10, you will be having 330 values. So totally when you are adding all the things you need to train, how many parameters? 27,562 parameters you have to train. The trainable parameters, what I mean is you have to train the weights. These weights have to be getting updated. For that only we are going to do this. Okay. Now we have done this. Yes, you can use ReLU, Sigma, TANH. You can use this. You can try this. You can try this. This is not a serious problem. You can use it for this particular problem. You can use it. Okay, what I focused is it needs a binary output only, so you can go for this. Okay. And now we can visualize the weights before training. For this particular operations only, Keras is going to help you. So you can just for layer 1 model layer dot get weights. If you are giving layer dot get weights, it will be this Keras using the software package. You can directly get the weights. You can give the name of the layer. In layer 1, you have to get the NP array. In NP array, you have to get it. And 32 is the initial weights. 32 is not the initial weights. 32 is initial. Okay, let's complete it. Okay, please use this. So when you execute this particular code, you will be able to find how will be your weights before training. Weights are the filters. If you say this, okay. NP not defined. Okay, not defined here, I think so. Okay, I have not used this NumPy package before executing this code. Please use this. This will be with import NumPy or to import NumPy. Okay. Okay. So once you have executed this, you can see this. So for first 32 images, you can see like this. It is not completely built. You can't sort out anything because at initial stage your weights are initialized randomly. You are not able to get any features in this image. This first 32 images you can see totally 8 in each row. You will be having 32 images. So first in this 8 images, it will not be getting you can't visualize any features in these images. Okay, and next what you are going to do is you are going to run your model. Once your training is complete, after that also you can visualize your weight. In that, what you can see is you can visualize something. So you are going to compile your model. Before running, you have to compile your model. So for this deep learning also, you will be going for some optimizers. So here we are using RMS prop optimizer. And for calculating loss, categorical cross entropy we are using. There are many loss formulas are there. These are all functions. These are all inbuilt functions. If you refer it mathematically, you will be having a formula for it. Y bar, log, something, you will be having formulas for it. Now you can compile your model here. So this is for compiling. Once after compiling, you can go for running your model. And you can run your model. This is, you'll be using model.fit xtrain ytrain. Batch sizes we are given 128. Epochs we have given previously as I think first itself we are defined epochs, we are given 2 epochs. So it's complete. So you can see that the loss is high and accuracy is nearly 12% only accuracy is here. So what we can do is we can once again run it. So if you are running it again, your accuracy may increase. So first we are runs twice and now it has run 4 times. And once again, if you are running it, it will be running for 6 times. So when you increase the epoch, number of epochs, your accuracy will be increasing. See. So once again, if you are running, your accuracy will be. See, from 12% to when you are iterating furthermore, you can see 61%. But you can't simply say that you can, by completely running it again and again, your model is by expecting bringing it to 90%, your model is predicting well. Sometimes it may be the reason for overfitting also. So those things also you have to consider it. You first paste this code in your Colab and run it. You will be having, you can note that your accuracy will be low here. Next, once again you run this cell, your epochs will be more increasing. So your number of epochs count will be so increasing. Here it will be given as 2 epochs only, but it will be calculating from the time of first execution of the code. So it will be randomly increasing. So once again I am executing it. So it has improved to 68%, 0.68. It is, this is training accuracy. This is not testing accuracy. This is training accuracy with the images what you are given. So now I have brought up to, once again improved. I will bring up to 74.8%. My training accuracy is here. This is the first factor you have to consider in any deep learning model. This is the training accuracy, and the loss is nearly 0.72. Next, now you can, what you can do is, you can check the testing accuracy. Here you are not doing testing, you are just evaluating your model, which is for testing. Sorry, test loss and test accuracy it is going to calculate. So here test accuracy is given as 0.76, that is 76%, and here it is given as 74%. Testing accuracy is more. Okay, and next what we can do is, we can go for, now we can visualize the weights, how it is there after your model is getting trained. For that you are going to use this. So when you use this, you are going to visualize your model after you have trained your, you are going to use this, you are going to visualize your weights after you have trained your model. Now you can see some pattern in this. Can you see? You can see some ordered pattern here. You can see alternate dark and white fringes here and there. So in the same images, but here your weights are not your randomized. It is not. It is not that initially there. So here it is. Your weights are getting altered. Your weights are coordinated. You can say that it is something in an orderly manner. It is there. You can see that. You can see some alternate bright and white fringes are there. Your pixels are getting oriented. Okay. This is your weights after training. Okay. So this is how your weights will be getting updated after training. And next, what you can do is you can you can predict this. You can predict this with the test data set. There are 10,000 images in the test data set. From that, you can predict it. First, we run it for 60,000 images, and training accuracy we got 76%, 74%, and for testing we will be going for here you give this in model.predict. In X test you give the value, you give any number here. The same we can give 10. You can give in X test in that particular square bracket, give the value, any one number value. Below 60,000 you have to give. So 10. Okay, then you can give the index. Okay. Okay. Please give the index here. Okay. Consecutive values, please give here. Please give the index value here. The label is given like that for this problem, I think so. 9:10, 1:2, give like that. You can have this. Okay. So for 9:10, you will be having the value like this. The threshold output is 0.001. So if you are having a value like this, then what will be the value? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in all other things, you are having 0. Here is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and here 1. Here you are having 1. So the image what you are getting, the label what you are getting is 9. 9 is the label you are getting. Whether the image is whether the image is plotted correctly, for that we can go for So the range, what it means is, it shows contents from 9 and before 10. It is like that. It is like accessing the index. Poly Karmakar, I think so. Can you understand it? Okay. And next, what you can do is you can plot it. Now we can check it whether the image what we are getting is 9. The same text you have to put it here. I use 9 is to 10. Okay. So when you are plotting the same value here, you are getting the values now. Okay. So using the test set also, using the test data set also, you have validated from the 10,000 images also, you have validated. Now what you can do is you can check with the number which is available in your desktop, or you can download an image from it and check it. I have checked this code. Only for certain values this code is predicting correctly. Other than that, it is not predicting correctly. For certain digits, it's predicted correctly. So I have used that particular images. So I'm going to run that. First, we run it with a testing data set. Now what we are going to do is we are going to take a color image and test it. So we can go for taking the color image and can test it. So here, this is digit.jpg. This is the image that needs to be updated. I will show this procedure. You can, I will post this link for you. I will post this, sorry, I'll post this code for you. In this, please change the digit here, digit.jpg. Please upload the digit what you need, what you are having from your desktop, and then you execute the code. So for that, you have to go to this folder option, and here you have to click apply, click upload, and in that you can this is the digit I'm going to give. This is a color image. So before getting this color image, okay, before getting this color image, this will be first displayed. We can't access color image with it. So what you have to do is once again you have to color this. Once again we have to convert this colored image into black and white image. For that, we will be converting this into a grayscale image. For that, you will be using this. Control V. The same thing, digit.jpg. The same will be converted into a grayscale image. Now you are running it. Now you see it is getting converted. Okay. Next, similarly, you will be using the same coding. Similarly, we will be using the same model for same thing for predicting. But in the image, we will not using the images from test data. We will be separately having this particular image. This black and white grayscale image, which was uploaded from my desktop, will be now tested. Control V. Yes, now it has predicted that. You can see that it is predicted the digit 3. So what is the disadvantage of this particular model is I have given all the codes for you. You can execute this. You can execute this code also. You can execute this. You can execute this code also. When you are executing this particular code, for some digits download from the internet, it is not accepting. It is not predicting correctly. So the accuracy was, while we were testing also, it was only 76%. Okay. So this model is up to only is valid up to only that. Okay. And this is the for digit identification we have done it. Now it's already 7:30. I think we can close the session. This is more than enough for image classification. Another one is simply CIFAR dataset. So you can simply search in Google CIFAR dataset. If you are going for CIFAR dataset, I will explain slightly here. So this is what the CIFAR dataset looks like. So there we have used digits. There we have used digits. Here we will be going for object classification. So see, there are 10 classes of objects. That includes aeroplane, automobile, bird, cat, deer, dog, frog, nurse. So there will be here also there will be 60,000 images, 50,000 for training and 10,000 for testing. These are colored images. That is the only difference between that. Here also you will be there. Yeah, if you need a aeroplane, here it will be 1 and all other things it will be 0. Based on the image what we give, it will be there. You refer internet for CIFAR 10 data set also. There are various models available there. You can find it. Okay. Okay, if you I will provide the code. Valaganesh sir, I think it's time. We can stop it, and if there is any doubts, they can ask us.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. But if you have any questions, you may ask now.
We will share the code for you. Okay, we will share it. Threshold. Threshold. I'm not sure of it. This is a download code. I'm not sure of this particular terminologies. Okay. Okay, Paulie Karmakar, we can discuss. Okay, please drop a mail. We can discuss. We are also beginners in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, for executing this particular program, I was working yesterday. So I too learned some. I was also new. I'm basically we are from mechanical department. We are new to some terminologies and other things, but we know what is the physics of the process, what is happening at the end. That is what we want to convey to beginner. Okay. Okay. Doing in SVM. Okay, Nirmala. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can drop a mail to arc@ratrjpm.ac.in. Okay, what you have to do is you have to first get familiar with the terminologies and the mathematical concepts also you should be knowing. Today I was not explaining the formulas. For example, only one formula I have told, I think so, sigmoid function. Similarly, you will be having function. You will be having a formula for all the functions. Okay, you have to know what is that, and the main thing is okay. Threshold is it will be in decimal values. Okay, arc at RATRJPM. Valaganesh sir, arc. Yes, you can drop a mail to this and we will reply to you if possible. Okay. Another thing is softmax layer, you will be getting prediction output here. If you see Colab, if you see a softmax layer, you will be having output here. When you give summation for all the softmax layer output, the value will be 1 here. It means that it is giving the probability that if you are summation giving a prediction. Marketing, sorry. So when you add all these values, it will be 1, and in this value only you are having greater than 0.5%. So threshold, see here, someone has threshold value, it is giving us 0.5, sorry, 0.5 value threshold. So in this you can see here, when prediction value is greater than 0.5, it will be considered as 1 here. So that is what it is given here, 1. Feedback link. Okay, so that is what threshold value here is 0.5. This you can see. When you see all these values here, the last value only will be greater than 0.5 here. See here, in this last value only it will be greater than 0.5. All other things it will be less than 0.5. Okay. It's concatenation. No, we haven't used those layers here. This is to explain how a normal image classification problem works, or this is a basic problem for deep learning. This is how it is going to work. For that, we are going to explain this in this session. We haven't used any convolution layers itself. We haven't used any pooling layers. We haven't performed any convolution itself. Okay. Okay, we will share the code with you.
Amudan sir,
Yes, sir.
I think the discussions are all good right now.
Okay, sir.
Shall we conclude the session by vote of thanks, sir?
Yes, sir. We can conclude it, sir.
After the vote of thanks, please clarify the doubt raised by the participants.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Now I welcome Mr. S. Meenachi Sundararavel sir from Electrical and Electronics Department to provide vote of thanks.
Thank you, Valaganesh sir. So, first of all, I would like to thank our management, our principal and vice principal for encouraging us to conduct this valuable program for all of you. So, next I would like to thank our resource persons, Mr. Valaganesh sir and Mr. Amudan sir. So, next I would like to thank all the participants. So, all the participants are actively involved in this session. So I hope this session is really fruitful and very much helpful for all of you. So all the participants are really actively involved in this session. So our resource persons have clarified all our doubts. I hope so. So once again, I thank you all. We hope your entire participation in the tomorrow's session also. So once again, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenachi Sundararavel sir. Don't forget, participants, tomorrow also we are having a similar session like this. So tomorrow's session is carried forward by Mr. R. Devanayagam from Electronics and Communication Engineering. He is having a couple of case studies in deep learning using Colab environment. Okay, so see you on tomorrow the same time, 6 o'clock. Normally the session is going to start. If you wish to raise any question on day one session, means you may join by 5:45 itself. Okay. So after responding to feedback, you may leave the meeting if you don't have any questions. Okay. Thank you all. If you have any questions, means please stay online and raise the question. Our resource person Amudan and myself, Valaganesh, will try to respond it. Okay. Thank you all.
Evaluation link, what do you mean, sir? It's all as one. Evaluation link, what do you mean? Following line is giving the error. Okay, have you uploaded the image? Have you you please download any image from the internet and upload it in your drive, and then you execute it. The last is evaluation. First we have trained our model. Next we have next we have went for training. For training we are having already 10,000 images. Pooling, max pooling. Pooling, I think so. Can't reach evaluation page. A minute.
Sir, Charles, sir, why is it that I cannot reach evaluation page? Evaluation I can't able to understand, sir. Actually, we are having lot of modules like starting from import data to ground truth, from user input.
Okay, pooling is a general term, and inside that it is max pooling. So there are another types like average pooling is there. From that you will be taking it. average the value from, for example, if I told you that PHR, there are 4 cells in it. For 4 cells, if you're taking average and getting that value, it is average pooling. So if it is considered as pooling, now you will be taking the maximum value. Or the max pooling layers are not fully connected. See, the giving dense is up to you, sir. So if you are giving dense layer, now the computation will be more. So dense, when you are giving dense before that coding, if you are going for dense layer, your number of trainable parameters will be more. If you are going for non-dense in the sense, you will not be connecting all the nodes between the 2 layers. Computation will be more, and accuracy may also increase when you are going for a dense layer, because the number of trainable parameters is more.
Participants feedback link is will be active only for 20 minutes. Probably will be disabled at 7:50. So I ask the participants to fill the feedback link.
So there are to improve the accuracy, there are various parameters. You can improve the layer size, you can increase the layer count. I'm not sure about the trainable parameters. You can increase the layer count, you can use epochs, you can reduce the batch size, you can change the size of the filter what you are using. For example, 5x5 kernel if you are using, you can reduce the still reduce the size of the kernel what you are going to use. Those things you can use for increasing your accuracy in your result. Obviously, when you are going for reducing the size, your trainable parameters will be obviously more.
Sir, Charles, sir, actually the feedback link is working, I think. Okay, so far we have got so many responses. I think you need to have a Gmail account while filling this, sir. Make sure that you are logged in with a Gmail account or not.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
there is rating from 1 to 5. So one is for good or excellent, or 5 is for good or excellent.
5 is good, ma'am. 5 is excellent, actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So polykarma, sir, it might be reduced, sir. Again, depending upon the data set, sir. Once you increase the batch size means probably the computation time might be slightly higher than the normal one, sir. Sir, totally how many data are available, sir? I think you train the system too much. Amudan, sir,
Sir.
have you turned on the responses, sir?
Yes, sir, it is on, sir.
So far, how many feedbacks are received, sir?
55 responses.
Okay. Participants who are in the session right now, the feedback link will be active only for 5 more minutes. Please fill the link. So, for the beginners of deep learning, where do we can start? If you are from the entry level, means first and foremost thing is you need to learn about the Python coding. That is the first and foremost thing. Then you should learn couple of machine learning concept. It will be much more easier for you to go forward to next level called as deep learning. So progressively you may able to come to the concept of deep learning. Okay, so this is the first and foremost step is you need to know about a little bit knowledge regarding Python, and then you may go for some machine learning concept. After that you may enter into deep learning. I think, for in my opinion, in my point of view, it is the thing. அமுதன் சார் 7:55க்கு
சார்
ஆஃப் பண்ணிருங்க ரெஸ்பான்சஸ் வந்து 7:55க்கு ரெஸ்பான்சஸ் ஆஃப்
ஓகே
பண்ணிருங்க.
சார் ஓகே சார் only 58 filled, many of them not filled, I think so sir.